Alara stood alone on the jagged cliff, the wind tearing at her hair, the full moon casting a silver glow over her trembling form. For as long as she could remember, she had lived with the curse whispered by the elders of her pack. She was barren, a broken omega, rejected by every mate who dared to glance her way. Her mother's desperate prayers, the taunts of her peers, even the cold indifference of her own alpha, none had spared her from a life of scorn. But tonight, everything changed. A growl rolled through the forest, low and commanding, shaking the very earth beneath her feet. From the shadows emerged Rhaegar, the alpha king of the northern clans, feared by every pack in the realm, his amber eyes burning with an intensity that froze her in place. Wolves whispered in the dark around them, sensing the clash of power and destiny. "You shouldn't be here," he rumbled, yet his gaze lingered, piercing her very soul. "And yet you've survived where no other Omega could." Alara's breath caught, and for the first time in her life, she wondered, could her curse be a lie? Could she carry life, even in the presence of the most powerful alpha in the world? The wind howled, the moon rose high, and fate began its relentless pull. The wind howled through the dense forest, rattling the branches like skeletal fingers. Moonlight spilled over the jagged cliffs, illuminating the small, trembling figure of an Omega standing alone at the edge. Her name was Alara, and in her 17 years, she had known nothing but whispers, rejection, and a cruel fate whispered by the elders of her pack. She was cursed to be barren, incapable of ever carrying life. Pack life was merciless for an Omega, and for one cursed like her, survival had become a daily battle against scorn and pity. She had been rejected not only by potential mates but by her own kin. Even the alpha of her pack, the imposing as King Rhaegar, had cast a cold, indifferent glance when her mother begged for mercy on her behalf. She was invisible, a shadow among wolves who howled at her misfortune. That night, the full moon reflected off the river, and Alara shivered, not from the cold, but from the unrelenting loneliness. Her golden brown eyes, the rare mark of a true Omega, glimmered with unshed tears. "Why me?" she whispered to the empty forest, her voice lost to the howling wind. But destiny has a way of shifting even the most hopeless paths. A deep, resonant growl echoed through the woods, halting her thoughts. The ground vibrated with the heavy steps of a wolf, no wolf, and then, emerging from the shadows, came a figure that stole her breath. Tall, broad-shouldered, with fur as dark as midnight and eyes that burned with an amber fire, stood as King Rhaegar, the alpha king of the northern clans. Every Omega in the realm had feared him, for his name alone commanded obedience, and his wrath could topple mountains. But tonight his gaze lingered on her, unreadable, piercing, like he could see her soul laid bare. "You shouldn't be here," his voice rumbled, deeper than the forest itself. "This is not your domain." "I was just walking," Alara stammered, shrinking back instinctively. Wolves always sensed fear, and she had enough to spare. He stepped closer, his scent overwhelming, wild, commanding, intoxicating. Yet there was something else buried beneath the alpha aura, a flicker of curiosity, or was it something darker? "You are cursed," he said abruptly, the words hitting harder than any claw. "No Omega has ever carried life under the shadow of your kind of misfortune." Alara's heart sank. He had confirmed it. The curse followed her even in the presence of the most powerful alpha in the realm. She looked down, unable to meet his penetrating gaze. "And yet," Rhaegar's voice softened in a way that made her uneasy, "there is something in you I cannot ignore. Something alive." The forest seemed to still around them, as if the world itself held its breath. She felt an unfamiliar flutter in her chest, a dangerous combination of fear, fascination, and longing. Before she could respond, a sudden howl split the night. A rival pack had entered the territory, challenging the Alpha's dominion. Rhaegar's stance shifted instantly, danger transforming him into the predator the legends spoke of. In one fluid motion, he turned, eyes blazing, ready to defend his claim. Instinctively, Alara followed, her Omega senses attuned to his every movement. She had never fought before, not like this. Yet, as they confronted the intruders, a strange power surged within her, an energy she hadn't known she possessed. She moved with the wolves, protecting Rhaegar in ways she couldn't explain, her mind and body strangely in tune with his. After the clash, when the last intruder had fled, Rhaegar turned to her. He was breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling like a storm, and his eyes, those fierce, amber eyes, held a mixture of surprise and wonder. You are not ordinary," he murmured, almost to himself. "Perhaps the curse is a lie." Alara's breath caught. Could it be? Could the very thing that had defined her misery, her barrenness, be false in the presence of the Alpha King? Before she could ask, Rhaegar's hand brushed against hers, and the world seemed to shatter. Sparks, heat, a pull neither could resist. "You will come with me," he said, low and commanding. "Tonight the curse may meet its reckoning." Elara knew that saying yes meant stepping into the unknown, into a life where danger and passion intertwined. But for the first time in her life, she felt seen. And as the moon shone high above, a new chapter of destiny began, one that would defy curses, challenge fates, and bind the Omega and the Alpha King together in ways neither could imagine. The ride to Rhaegar's fortress was nothing short of terrifying and exhilarating. Mounted on a massive black wolf, Alara clung tightly, feeling the raw power beneath her. The wind whipped her hair, the trees blurred into streaks of silver and shadow, and her heart thundered as if echoing the Alpha's every pulse. Rhaegar rode beside her, silent and imposing, his gaze occasionally flicking toward her. Each glance made her stomach tighten. The rumors of his ruthlessness had never prepared her for the intensity of his presence up close. Every movement, every subtle shift in his posture, radiated dominance, and yet, in that same dominance, there was something else, a magnetic pull she couldn't ignore. "You may be the first Omega to survive my challenge," he said finally, his voice breaking the tense silence. "Few can withstand the wild alone and untrained." "Yet you did." Alara's cheeks burned. I didn't mean to. You didn't just survive," he interrupted, amber eyes locking onto hers. "You fought. You protected me." Her breath caught. Protection. Him. She was just following instinct, but the words planted a seed of wonder and fear. Could the Alpha King respect her? Could he see her as more than the cursed Omega the world had labeled her? The fortress loomed in the distance, jagged towers scraping the moonlit sky like claws. Built atop a cliff overlooking the northern valley, it was as much a fortress as it was a symbol of Rhaegar's power. Wolves prowled the perimeter, their eyes glowing like embers, alert to every sound. As they entered, the massive gates groaned open, revealing a courtyard bathed in silver light. Rhaegar's pack members, tall and muscular, bowed instinctively, showing obedience that bordered on fear. Elara felt a pang of awe. She had stepped into a world she never imagined, a world ruled by strength, loyalty, and danger at every corner. "You will stay here," Rhaegar said, guiding her through the stone corridors. "You are under my protection. No harm will come to you within these walls. But understand this, your past, your curse, it may follow you in ways you do not yet see." Elara nodded, unable to speak. She felt the weight of his words, the unspoken promise of both safety and challenge. Her heart pounded as they reached a chamber at the top of the fortress, a room vast and elegantly decorated, yet undeniably fortified. "Rest," he commanded softly, but his eyes lingered on her longer than necessary. "Tomorrow we begin to understand what you truly are." Alone in the room, Alara sank onto the bed, her thoughts racing. Could the curse truly be false? Could she, an Omega rejected, scorned, and labeled barren, carry life after all? Night fell, heavy and silent, broken only by the distant howls of wolves and the faint murmur of Rhaegar's voice in the corridors. Unable to sleep, Alara wandered to the balcony, staring at the moon, feeling its pull on her very soul. That's when she felt it, a warmth spreading through her body, a sudden, inexplicable connection to something vast and powerful. And then, from the shadows behind her, came the sound of footsteps. She didn't need to turn. She knew who it was. "Do not fear me," Rhaegar said, his voice soft, almost intimate. "You feel it, don't you? The connection between us, it is rare, Omega? Dangerous, yes, but undeniable." Alara turned, meeting his gaze. Her chest tightened. "But I don't understand." He stepped closer, the air between them electric, charged. "Fu ever will. The bond of a fated Alpha and Omega is not always clear in the beginning. It tests, it tempts. It awakens things you thought were lost." Before she could respond, he placed a hand on her shoulder, light, but firm. The touch sent shivers down her spine, and for the first time in her life, Elara felt the stirrings of hope, desire, and fear all at once. "You are not just any Omega," he whispered, his amber eyes blazing with intensity. "You are the one who will change everything, starting with me." And in that moment, as the moonlight bathed them both, the first threads of a forbidden, passionate, and fated love began to weave between the Alpha King and the cursed Omega, who might yet carry life in his heart. Morning light spilled through the towering windows of the fortress, illuminating Elara's golden, brown hair like strands of fire. She awoke with a start, her heart still pounding from the vivid dreams that had haunted her sleep, dreams of a powerful Alpha, a moonlit forest, and whispers of life growing inside her, despite the curse she had been told would define her forever. Rhaegar stood outside the chamber, as if waiting for her to awaken. The door opened silently, and he stepped in, each movement deliberate, commanding, and yet oddly tender. "You've slept little," he observed, his voice low and intimate. "Dreams keep you restless." Elara hesitated, unsure if she should admit them. I dreamed of twins," she whispered, barely audible. "But I thought I couldn't." Rhaegar's eyes narrowed, a mixture of surprise and something deeper, more intense, flickering in his amber gaze. He stepped closer, closing the space between them. "Twins," he repeated, the word tasting foreign yet significant on his tongue. "Do you know what this means?" She shook her head. "I don't. I've been told I'm cursed, that I cannot bear life." The Alpha King's expression softened, a rare vulnerability hidden beneath the layers of strength and authority. "Perhaps the curse was never real," he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Perhaps it was the world's way of doubting what it could not control." Elara's breath hitched. The warmth of his hand against her skin, the intensity of his gaze, it was all too much, and yet it felt inevitable. The bond between them, strange and electric, tugged at her very soul. Before she could respond, he took her hand, lifting it to his chest, letting her feel the steady, commanding beat of his heart. "Do you feel that?" he asked. "This is the Alpha's heartbeat, but it is more than that. It is a calling. A bond. You are not just my Omega, you are my fated mate, and whatever lies within you I will protect it, even if it means defying the entire world." Elara's eyes filled with tears, not of sadness, but of wonder and disbelief. I don't know if I can, if I'm worthy." Rhaegar shook his head, his expression fierce yet tender. "Worthiness is irrelevant. The bond chooses, not the world. And it has chosen you." The intensity between them was overwhelming, their proximity igniting a fire that neither could contain. But before the first kiss, before the words of love could pass between them, a sudden tremor ran through Elara's body. She doubled over, clutching her stomach, a strange warmth blossoming within her. Rhaegar's eyes darkened with concern and awe. "What is it?" he demanded, moving closer. I feel life," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Inside me, two hearts." The words froze in the air, their weight undeniable. Twins. She was carrying life, the impossible life that the curse had claimed she could never bear. And the Alpha King, the most powerful being she had ever known, was her protector, her bond, her mate. Rhaegar took her into his arms, holding her tightly against his chest. "Then the world is about to change," he said, his voice a vow and a warning. "They will not take this from you, from us." For the first time in her life, Elara felt truly seen, truly chosen. Her cursed past, her pain, her rejection, all of it melted away in the heat of the Alpha King's embrace. But as their bond deepened, so too did the dangers that surrounded them. Rivals, jealous Alpha clans, and the shadow of her supposed curse threatened to tear apart the fragile beginnings of their love. And the twins inside her, the miracle that defied fate, were both their greatest blessing and their most dangerous secret. That night, under the full moon, Rhaegar and Elara lay side by side, the weight of destiny pressing down, the heat of their bond igniting flames that neither could deny. Every touch, every whispered word, every glance was a promise that they would face the world together, no matter the cost. And somewhere in the depths of the fortress, the Alpha King's heart swelled with an emotion he had never known, love, fierce and eternal, for the Omega who had survived, fought, and carried life against all odds. The morning sun cut through the fortress walls, painting the stone corridors with gold and amber light. Yet the warmth of the sun could not chase away the unease that settled over the Alpha King's domain. Rumors of rival packs had reached Rhaegar's ears, Alpha Lords envious of his power, wary of his growing bond with a cursed Omega who now defied fate. Elara awoke to find Rhaegar already gone from the chamber. Panic clawed at her chest, but a soft knock at the door gave her pause. It was Kyle Rhaegar's second in command, a wolf with piercing gray eyes and loyalty as unwavering as steel. "The Alpha wishes to speak with you," Kale said, his tone cautious yet respectful. "He insists you come now." Elara swallowed her fear, following him down the winding corridors, until they reached the war room, a vast chamber filled with maps, weapons, and the hum of strategizing warriors. And at the center, standing like a mountain of raw power, was Rhaegar, his dark fur bristling, amber eyes flashing with a storm she had never seen before. "Two rival packs approach our borders," he said, his voice a rumble that shook the walls. "They seek to challenge me, to claim you, the Omega carrying the future of my bloodline. They underestimate the strength of fate, and the fury of an Alpha defending his mate." Alara's heart raced. The words, "claim you," made her skin prickle with fear. Yet another part of her shivered with excitement. The twins within her stirred, inexplicably connected to the tension, their tiny movements like whispers against her soul. "You fear?" Rhaegar said softly, stepping close. "And you should. But fear is no weakness when it drives you to survive, to fight, to embrace what is yours." His hand brushed her cheek, sending sparks through her entire being. Elara felt the pull of their bond stronger than ever, the twin hearts inside her resonating with the Alpha's own pulse, their life force entwined with his. I don't know if I can fight like this," she admitted, her voice trembling. "I've never been strong like you. You are stronger than you realize," Rhaegar whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. "The bond between an Alpha and his fated Omega is not measured by skill alone. It is measured by heart, by courage, by love. And you carry not just life, but the future of our kind." The words ignited something fierce in her. Elara straightened, meeting his gaze. "Then I will fight. Not just for you but for them," she said, her hands instinctively brushing her stomach, feeling the twins move in affirmation. Rhaegar's lips curved into a rare smile, proud and tender. "That is my Omega," he murmured, before capturing her mouth in a kiss that burned with both hunger and reverence. It was a kiss that spoke of promises, of protection, of passion that defied the darkness surrounding them. But the moment was cut short by the howl of warning from the fortress perimeter. The enemy was close. Rhaegar released her, his form already shifting, his muscles coiling like a predator ready to strike. "Stay close," he commanded, his voice laced with both authority and desire. "Tonight, you are mine to protect, and they will learn no pack crosses the Alpha King's mate." As the battle erupted outside, Elara clung to him, her Omega instincts awakening in ways she had never known. The twins moved with a pulse that matched Rhaegar's, giving her strength, focus, and a courage that defied her cursed past. The fight was brutal, wolves clashing under the moonlit sky, growls and snarls echoing like thunder. Yet through the chaos, the Alpha and his Omega moved as one, Rhaegar striking with lethal precision, Elara weaving around him with instinctive grace. Each time she felt danger, she instinctively shielded her unborn twins, channeling the bond that now connected them all. When the dust settled, the rival packs retreated, broken and humiliated. Rhaegar returned to Elara, lifting her into his arms. She rested her head against his chest, feeling the pounding of his heart and the gentle stir of life within her. "You did well," he murmured, lips brushing her hair. "Stronger than any pack would have believed. Stronger than I imagined even I could see." Elara looked up at him, her chest still heaving, her eyes shining with both awe and longing. I did it with you," she said softly. "With you beside me." Rhaegar's gaze softened, amber fire giving way to warmth. "And we will face all that comes together. Nothing will take you, or them, from me. You are my Omega, my mate, the mother of my children, the twin flames of our destiny." As the moon bathed them in silver light, the fortress seemed to breathe with them, the bond of Alpha Omega and unborn life resonating like a symphony. And deep within Elara, the twins shifted once more, as if acknowledging the Alpha King who had claimed their mother, and whose heart they had already begun to call home. The fortress was quiet, a deceptive calm settling over the stone walls. Yet the tension of the day's battle lingered like smoke, and within the chambers another storm brewed, one of desire, trust, and the inescapable pull between the Alpha King and his fated Omega. Elara sat on the edge of the bed, fingers brushing over her swollen stomach, feeling the gentle yet insistent movements of the twins. It was as if they, too, recognized the Alpha King who had claimed them before they even drew breath. Her heart swelled with awe and fear. How could she protect these lives while also protecting herself? Rhaegar entered silently, his presence filling the room like the first crack of thunder. He paused, drinking in the sight of her, golden brown hair cascading over her shoulders, eyes alight with vulnerability and newfound strength. "You are beautiful," he murmured, the words rough yet tender, "and more powerful than any Omega I've ever known." Elara's breath hitched. I feel them moving," she whispered, gesturing to her stomach. "I feel them with me, with you." Rhaegar's expression softened, and he moved closer, kneeling before her. "And I feel them," he said, placing his hands over hers. "Strong, fierce, alive. They are ours, Elara, and I will protect them with every ounce of my being." The intimacy of the moment drew them together. Slowly, deliberately, he lifted her onto the bed, every movement measured to honor both her comfort and the growing, irresistible tension between them. Their lips met in a kiss that was both desperate and reverent, a collision of fire and need. Elara's hands moved to his chest, feeling the raw strength beneath his fur, the steady heartbeat that had guided her through the forest and the battles that followed. "Rhaegar," she breathed, the name a prayer and a plea. He pressed against her, careful yet consuming, their bodies speaking the language of a bond that transcended fear, destiny, and even curses. Every touch, every caress was a promise, every shiver a testament to the life growing within her. And then, something extraordinary happened. The twins stirred in unison, a pulse of energy that surged through Elara's body and into Rhaegar's hands. It was a warmth unlike anything he had ever felt, a connection deeper than instinct, raw and undeniable. The unborn life inside her was not passive, it was alive in ways neither of them had fully understood, responding to the bond that had claimed them all. Rhaegar's eyes darkened with awe and desire. They know us?" he whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. "Already, they feel the bond, and it makes us stronger." Elara shivered at the touch of his lips on her temple, his hands cradling her as if she were fragile glass, yet she felt anything but fragile. Strength surged within her, born from the Alpha's protection, the bond they shared, and the life that now grew between them. "You've changed everything," Rhaegar murmured, voice low, rough with emotion. "Even the curse, it has no power here, not over you, not over us." Tears welled in her eyes, a mixture of relief, love, and desire. I never thought anyone could see me," she whispered. "Really see me." "You are not just seen," he said, his amber eyes burning into hers. "You are claimed, you are loved, and together we will face whatever comes. I am yours and you are mine forever." The moonlight spilled across the chamber as they held each other, the twins stirring as if in agreement. And in that moment, the fortress was no longer a place of stone and duty. It became a sanctuary of passion, love, and destiny. But even as they surrendered to their bond, the shadows beyond the fortress walls stirred. Rivals still whispered of rebellion, enemies still plotted vengeance, and the twins, miraculous and powerful, were already a prize that the world would seek to claim. Yet for now, in the quiet of the night, Alpha and Omega, mother and protector, faded and unbroken, allowed themselves to burn with a love that defied curses, danger, and fate itself. And deep within Elara, the twins kicked again, a tiny rhythmic heartbeat that echoed the Alpha's own, a reminder that destiny was alive, fierce, and unstoppable.